Hey there, beautiful peeps. That's short for people, for those of you who aren't up with the latest lingo. Is that the latest lingo? I think that's been around for a while, actually. Maybe I'm just really old. Welcome, peeps, to my latest TanuriX video. Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome to the next TX video, TanuriX. And it's been a while. It's been a while since I've made any deep and meaningful vlogs or chat videos where I speak on an exploratory topic or a personal development idea or concept. So, yeah, that's right. I'll be delving into some more of that today, because today's topic is on the importance of overcoming challenges, facing fear, but more importantly, willing to take on the challenge. I believe we all know when a challenge enters our lives. It's that time in our lives when we are invited. I put that in air quotes because it's more often than not a challenge we don't initially want in our lives. Anyway, so it's that time in our lives when we are faced with a challenge, where things may seem easier and better if we would just have them stay the same. If things could just stay the same, they would be better. But that's not how life works. The one guarantee in life, as I've said in a few of my past videos, the one guarantee in life is change. Things are going to change, and when they change, we're going to need to adapt, and in most cases, change with it. And this can feel difficult, and this can feel challenging, and this can feel uncomfortable. I came to a realization pretty early on in my life that if I choose to expose myself to change consistently, to invite challenges into my life by engaging in activities that scare me or are somewhat challenging, when I realized perhaps I needed to expose myself to this constant change, the things that scare me, then I realized perhaps it would become easier for me to welcome in that change that occurs in our life, to be more accepting of the change that we have to accept, and in doing so to become less resistant to the change that will invariably enter my life. So, for example, a worldwide pandemic that affects my ability to engage with clients as I did before. Do I resist what is, or do I find a way to embrace the change and adapt? Take on the challenge. Yes, it'll be difficult. It'll be uncomfortable because I got to get out of my comfort zone. I got to get out of what was normal before, what was comfortable before, and start engaging in this new reality. Or perhaps another example could be you're being offered a new position at work, a promotion, if you will. And one's first thought might be, oh, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm good enough to do it. I don't know if I want this. I'm scared that I'll fail. There's so many countless examples of the challenges that enter our lives. But there's another way of looking at it, because these challenges that enter our lives are actually all opportunities. Some look more like opportunities than others. You know, the possible promotion at work, yeah, that looks like an opportunity, albeit potentially a scary one. But other challenges may look less like an opportunity, like a worldwide pandemic. But there are opportunities in there. Opportunities to face those fears, to become more content with what is. And in becoming more accepting of the things that we cannot control, we find a greater sense of peace. It was early on in my early 20s. Sounds weird. It was early on, when I was in my early 20s, that I recognized the importance of confronting fear, of exposing myself to change, and engaging in challenges from a physical standpoint. And what I mean by a physical standpoint is those fears that I suppose, one would say is a rational fear to have of potential physical harm. I decided, let me face these these rational fears, that I have, but if I can overcome these fears in a safe environment, maybe I can learn to be more comfortable with change. Examples of these would be facing my fear of death, my fear of falling, my fear of heights, my fear of drowning, etc., etc. And how would I do this? By exploring jumping off cliffs, by rock climbing, by whitewater rafting, by scuba diving. Things that can be somewhat scary because there is always that potential risk that you could die, you could hurt yourself, you could seriously injure yourself. That is somewhat rational fear. And I thought, if I decided to engage in these things that scare me, but in a somewhat safe way, follow the necessary safety guidelines, I can maybe overcome some of those fears and teach myself how to become more accepting of fear. And more importantly, more willing to confront fear. I also realized I didn't want to be afraid. I didn't want to be afraid anymore. I needed to confront the fear. I needed to confront myself. But then, once I'd explored a lot more of that in my life, I started exploring mindfulness. And the conjunction, or at least the combination, of exploring physical adventure activities that are kind of scary with mindfulness, I realized that some of the most difficult challenges and some of the most difficult fears that I needed to face and that I think we all need to face are the ones in our mind. I started to see my fear of lack, my fear of not being good enough. And I realized that this was the real fear to face. As my self-awareness grew through my mindful practice, I noticed my limiting thoughts. I noticed those thoughts and those fears that were holding me back from truly engaging with life in a fluid and a loving way. And I began to engage in my life in a way that forced me to face these fears when I mindfully recognized the moment the fear came up. I saw the opportunity to challenge that fear, to learn to let go of the fear, to trust, and to go with the flow. I suppose what I'm saying is that in order to truly engage in your life, to find greater strength and empowerment and forward momentum, you need to be willing to take on the challenges. And yes, it will be scary. And yes, you will make mistakes. But you will learn, and you will grow. You will grow braver and more courageous. But also engage in a mindfulness practice. Through your mindfulness practice, you will develop a greater capacity to see yourself, to see your limiting thoughts, your fears when they arise. And instead of simply avoiding the challenge instinctively, wanting to keep things comfortable, invariably having that fear come up again consistently in your life because you avoid facing it. Instead of doing that, recognize the opportunity that this presents in being more mindful to these insecurities or your fears. You can then choose to face them, confront them, challenge yourself to be better, and you will slowly, or sometimes quickly, dissolve those fears. And you'll move forward into greater abundance. Because what does it mean to be more abundant? It means to have more than you need. And the more you overcome fear, the more you face those challenges, the more confidence that you develop within yourself, the more trust that you develop within yourself, the more self-love that you develop within yourself, the more courage that you develop within yourself, so much more, an abundance of all of these beautiful things that you desire in your life. So face the challenges, but have a mindfulness practice. Because through that mindfulness practice, you'll see those moments in your life, you'll see those opportunities where you are holding yourself back, where you recognize this is the opportunity for me to start facing those fears, to start transcending them and dissolving them. And if you're interested in exploring a little bit more in mindfulness, well, check out the link in my description below, or maybe I'll put something here, where you can check out my latest course, Mind Mastery, where you can learn to do exactly what I'm describing in this video. So I hope you liked the video. I hope it's given you some sense of clarity, maybe even a little bit of inspiration, motivation to move forward into exploring yourself and becoming the best new version of you. All right, so that's my 2 cents worth for today. Thank you for listening. And if you made it this far into the video, well done. I like to think that you are engaging in your life. You're going to make the decision in order to do so. And I'm excited for you to hopefully join me on this journey. So till then, till the next video, till next week, might not be this deep and meaningful, it might be more fun and silly because that's important too. Until then, ciao for now.